carrying a flag rode from one bridge to another 6 miles away. An observer with a telescope placed 8 inches above the surface of the water found that the flag and the boat were distinctly visible throughout the entire distance. If the Earth is a sphere with a circumference of 25,000 miles, then over a distance of 6 miles, the second bridge should mathematically be 16 feet below the observer's eye line. At last, after thousands of years of uncertainty, man was able to get far enough away from the Earth to have a good look at it in all its resplendent beauty. It did appear curved, and photographs were brought back for all to see. However, according to experts, these photographs are much less conclusive than one might think.
Einstein told us that light actually is attracted by gravity. In other words, the path of light is not straight in a strong gravitational field. So astronauts looking at the Earth see a curved Earth, but what they don't realize is that it's not the Earth that's curved, it's the light taking a curved path from the Earth because of the strong gravitational field of the Earth that makes the Earth look curved.
So you're saying that those photographs from space that the Apollo mission brought back don't represent the Earth as it really is?
Of course they represent the Earth as it really is, as seen by curved light. And so those photographs from space are entirely correct. And it's just that what has to be taken into account when we take data from those photographs is that light traveling through space is curved by gravity. And so it'll make straight things appear curved. And you know, it'll also make curved things appear straight. So you have to be very careful when you use light to measure things in a very high gravitational field.
They're going up, and the astronaut thinks he's leveling off this way, going around, when in effect he's leveling off this way, and he goes around in a circle, this, like so. The farther out he goes, the less he sees of the Earth. He makes a bigger circle, he can make as big a circle as he likes, and which is in effect exactly the same as if he was going around the world this way, and going out farther, he makes a larger orbit.
Through time-lapse photography, the velocity of these clouds has been dramatically increased. While they were actually drifting over the mountains at approximately 27 miles per hour, they now have the appearance of moving at well over 100, 4 times their normal speed. If the clouds were stationary and the Earth was revolving underneath them, this is how it would appear if the Earth was spinning at 100 miles per hour. Yet we're told that the Earth is spinning at 10 times that speed. Consider this. Those who maintain that the Earth is a globe that spins suggest that people standing at the equator are being whirled around at approximately 1,000 miles an hour. They further maintain that the Earth is spinning around the Sun at a speed of 67,000 miles per hour, and that our Sun is supposedly racing around the center of our galaxy at some 600,000 miles per hour. And yet, you and I both know that on many days it's possible to stand outside without a single hair being messed up by the breeze.
You put your hand outside a window of a car which is going even at 80 kilometers per hour, a terrific wind goes blasting by and pushes your hand back. Imagine putting your hand outside the window of a car that's going 1,600 kilometers per hour. We just take your hand right off.
With a sphere of 4,000 miles radius being spun round once every 24 hours, a little bit of calculations will show that that person there is being spun round at about 1,000 miles an hour and it doesn't know it. I mean, this is obvious nonsense. You go on a merry-go-round and it goes, I doubt, more than 10 miles an hour, and you get off all dizzy. You mean to tell me that people can be spun round at approximately 1,000 miles an hour and not know it? Why, if this is so, this whole room that we're in is supposedly being spun round at something of approximately that order of speed, and we don't know it?
This means that the continents are able to move as if they're floating on a fluid. Now, if the Earth is spherical, if it's spinning, anybody knows that if this is spinning very, very, very fast like that, that the continents should all be located at the equator, because centrifugal force would move the continents from the poles to the middle. One of the
In
real
October of 1929, Andrea again tried to focus the world's attention on the controversy by proving the notion the Earth spins to be absolute nonsense. It was reasoned that if a dirigible was to go aloft in England and hold itself perfectly static, then by the accepted theory the Earth should rotate underneath it and New York should come into view some 4 or 5 hours later. In fact, England was never lost from view. The dirigible eventually ran low on fuel and had to land. Andrea insisted she had made her point. But New York wasn't paying attention that day. The stock market crash monopolized the headlines then and for some time to come. Andrea had again been upstaged. By November of 1938, Andrea was prepared for her second attempt to reach the edge. A consortium of financiers were providing her with a plane and a large enough crew to make a legitimate go of it. And so, once again, an optimistic Andrea found herself in Antarctica. And once again, fate was against her. A freak spring blizzard took them by surprise. They were unable to leave base camp, much less make a trip to the edge. The entire expedition was very nearly wiped out. That was the last attempt Andrea made until 23 years later, when she set off alone by snowmobile in 1961. Until recently, that was the end of the story. Researchers stationed in Antarctica to study weather patterns found a snowmobile partially buried in a snowbank. It had run out of fuel and there were no signs of Andrea anywhere. But he did find these, a camera and a note. The note says only, "I have been there. The debate finally comes to an end. Signed, Andrea B." It had survived the frozen elements for nearly 30 years. Unfortunately, the researcher inadvertently opened the camera, exposing the film inside. Any pictures were lost, and Miss Barnes' trip is still very much shrouded in mystery. There was no description of what she had seen or how far away it was. But if we are to believe the note, then Andrea Barnes was very likely the first person in history to visit the edge of the Earth.